Every morning, a sound drags you out of wherever sleep took you. You hate it. You need it. Someone had to invent it, and that story is older than you probably think. For most of human history, waking up was the sun's job, a rooster's job. The world that did not wait was alarm enough. Some people, priests, soldiers, scholars, needed to wake at an exact, predetermined moment. The ancient world had a specific and stubborn problem. The Egyptians and Babylonians measured nighttime hours with water. A stone vessel with a small hole, water dripping out, marks on the inside counting off the passing hours. The Greeks called it the clepsydra, the water thief, elegant in darkness when sundials failed. It could tell you the time, but it could not wake you up. Around 400 BC, Plato ran a school in Athens called the Academy. His students studied mathematics and philosophy, and they began every single day before dawn. Plato built a clepsydra fitted with a rising float and a siphon. When water reached a set level, it triggered a mechanism connected to a row of pipes. The pipes produced a sound like a water organ, a sharp, rising whistle loud enough to fill a room. As far as we know, the world's first alarm clock. The ancient writer Athenaeus, writing around 200 AD, describes the device and credits it with waking students for pre-dawn lectures. Annoying your students before dawn, some things never change. Around 250 BC, C. Ctesibius of Alexandria added gears, dials, and mechanical figures to water clocks that could strike bells at preset times. The alarm was already sophisticated. When the Western Roman Empire collapsed in the late 400s AD, this mechanical tradition largely disappeared from Europe. For centuries, the alarm clock was, again, a person lying awake in the dark. The most urgent new need for a night alarm was in Christian monasteries. Benedict's rule, written around 530 AD, required prayers at 8 fixed hours, including one deep in the middle of the night. This midnight prayer was called matins. Missing it was not optional. The entire community rose together in darkness, by rule. The penalty for sleeping through was severe. For centuries, one monk, the cantor, stayed awake watching a candle or water clock, then walked the dormitory ringing a handbell. He was, literally, a human alarm clock. In the late 1200s, European craftsmen began building mechanical clocks driven by falling weights and controlled by an escapement, a rocking lever that turned the steady pull of gravity into counted beats. From nearly the beginning, mechanical clocks included a secondary pin set on a gear wheel that would trip a lever and ring a bell at a chosen hour. An alarm built in. The earliest mechanical striking clocks were installed in English, French, and Italian monastery towers by the 1300s. They rang for matins, for vespers, for every canonical hour of the monastic day. Within decades, the technology spread to town squares. Towers in Milan, Strasbourg, and Paris had mechanical clocks by the mid-1300s. Entire cities could now organize around a shared, precise time. Around 1327, Richard of Wallingford, abbot of St. Albans in England, completed an astronomical clock with a built-in alarm. It could predict tides. It took more than a decade to build. All of these clocks were public infrastructure. They told the whole town what time it was. No one had a clock at home. The personal alarm clock did not yet exist. Personal clocks appeared in the 15 and 1600s, but they were handcrafted status objects, ruinously expensive and wildly inaccurate. Most households still woke to church bells or roosters well into the 1700s. The personal alarm clock was born in Concord, New Hampshire, in 1787. The inventor was a clockmaker named Levi Hutchins, and his motivation was entirely personal. Hutchins had a rule: rise before dawn every morning. He built a brass clock with a single pin placed to trip the bell mechanism at exactly 4 a.m. He never applied for a patent. There was a catch. The alarm could only ring at 4 a.m. The time was fixed in the mechanism. If you needed to wake at 5, you needed a different clock. That problem was solved 60 years later in France. In 1847, Anton Redier received the first recorded patent for a mechanical alarm clock with an adjustable alarm time. Redier's design added a secondary dial to the clock face. Turn it to your chosen hour. A lever would engage the bell train at that exact moment. Set it and sleep. Redier's timing was no accident. Europe and America were being remade by industrialization. Factories ran on rigid shifts. If workers arrived late, the whole production line stopped. Time discipline was now economic survival. Britain's answer was the knocker-upper. Men and women paid to walk fixed routes before dawn, tapping on bedroom windows with long bamboo poles to wake factory workers for their shifts. Knocker-uppers charged roughly a penny or two a week per household. Photographs from Manchester and London document them at work. The profession persisted in some British cities well into the 1930s. Meanwhile, Connecticut clock manufacturers had mastered mass production. Companies like Seth Thomas and Ansonia were stamping out affordable brass alarm clocks by the millions, the twin bell design still iconic today. By the 1870s, a reliable alarm clock cost just a few dollars. For the first time, waking on time was not a privilege of the wealthy. It was simply a purchase. By 1900, the ringing bell alarm was a global fixture. The same tinny hammer and bell racket woke factory workers in Manchester, Pittsburgh, and Osaka every morning. One invention had synchronized the waking world. The 1920s brought electric alarm clocks with synchronous motors tied to the power grid. No daily winding required. No drift. The first truly accurate and effortless mass-market timepiece. In 1956, Westclox introduced the snooze alarm, a button that silenced the alarm for 9 minutes before it rang again. The snooze button was born, and mornings were never quite the same. Why 9? The gear train made 10 minutes the natural interval, but engineers shortened it slightly so the snooze could never drift past the next hour mark. 9 minutes became the global standard almost by accident. The snooze button was not a timekeeping innovation. It was a psychological one. For the first time, the alarm acknowledged you might not be ready and offered a brief, mechanical mercy. Through the 1960s and 70s, transistors replaced gear trains in budget clocks. The LED display replaced the clock face. The buzzing beep replaced the clanging bell. A new sound entered every bedroom on Earth. By the 2000s, the smartphone could wake you, set a dozen alarms, and play soft music instead of a siren. The dedicated alarm clock looked like a technology heading for extinction. And yet the dedicated alarm clock refuses to die. Surveys consistently show millions of people still keep a separate clock, specifically to keep the phone out of the bedroom entirely. An alarm clock is not really a clock that rings. It is a commitment device, a promise made to your future self the night before that tomorrow you will do the hard thing. Plato built his water clock not because he loved early mornings. He built it because the sleeping mind will always choose sleep over philosophy if left to make that choice on its own. The monks who installed the first mechanical alarms in their towers understood the same thing. The bell does not suggest you might want to get up. It tells you. It has always told you. From Plato's bronze pipes to Westclox's snooze button, the alarm clock spans 2.5 millennia of human effort. All of it aimed at the same stubborn, recurring problem. That problem is not time. Time passes perfectly without you. The problem is that you are warm and the bed is soft and the dark is quiet. It has always been this way. Every ringing morning is a small battle in that war. Plato started it. The monks escalated it. Redier industrialized it. And every morning, in bedrooms around the world, it is still being fought. This is Origins. Subscribe and come back tomorrow. There's a new origin every single morning.